Welcome and enjoy the show. I'm going to read what I wrote. There's so much here. If I don't read off notes, then I'll end up rambling on. First, you need to understand the importance of background of these people. I'm not talking about the cops, I'm talking about the elite, but I'm not going to go into that because it would take forever. Once you've researched each player and you know who they are, what they're hiding, what their agenda is, who they've taken money from in exchange for things like favors and promotions, including media people, media networks, how exactly they're corrupt. That's what qmap.pub is. It gives you a heads up on everybody you should be looking at and the kind of people you should be researching, their names, blah blah blah. That's what it is. It gives you a heads up and it lets you do the work yourself. So kind of gives you these little tips, and then you're the investigator and you go and you find out the truth. Once you realize, okay, say you focus on one person. Once you realize this dude's corrupt, like way, okay, then you're like, oh, that person's corrupt. And then you keep researching random things, and then you keep coming across the same names in the same articles, in the same records, on the same donor lists, and you realize, oh, these people all know each other. And that's when you come to a realization that they're a group and they all have this plan, and it all ties into the bigger picture. Relating to the current events,
I filmed this exactly 5 days after George Floyd died,
and to me explains how this is all happened. This video is not complete. There is a lot that I'm leaving out in order to be able to upload anything at all, because I could go on forever. I'm going to just throw you some highlights and summarize what I think has happened based on my years of research in this stuff, because I've been into it since like 2014, way before Trump, which is another reason why it's because I knew it before he even won. To make things as short as possible, I'm going to assume that everyone knows who George Soros is. Wouldn't take too long to explain this, but I'm going to assume that everyone knows he's evil. I mean, I hope you would know by now. Now I know what some of you are thinking. Oh, great. Another George Soros conspiracy theory. What if I told you I had proof he's tied to this?
I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner.
Soros, little background, created the Open Society Foundation. He created it. It's his thing. It's his company. He runs the shit, okay? You can go and look. You can go Google it. You can see all his donor lists. Now, those are just the public donor lists that he has on his website. Those are just the ones that it's okay for you to know about. But I think once you go and you look in the Podesta documents and you look at all these other things, it's not on my notes. See, I told you I could go off. Media Matters and like a whole bunch of different organizations that are involved with the whole Pizzagate and the pedophile ring. When you look at his donor list and like all these things he gives to, you'll recognize a lot of names. And the same thing in this other PDF. When I went and I looked through this PDF I'm about to tell you about, I recognized tons of names from the Pizzagate scandal and the Podesta emails, and it was Open Society Foundation, which he uses to give money to political activists like Black Lives Matter.
indirectly, because dark money is channeled from organization to organization in order to hide its true intent.
Founder directly oversees things, and he has his son, Alex Soros, work for him, funding organizations that hold campus takeovers. Okay, you can go on his donor. How I found this out is I just went on his donor list. I looked who he did, the organizations he donated to, and then you go and you look and you see what they are all about. So that's going to start you in the rabbit hole. Then you go deeper. Then you just keep going, and then it gets nuts. And then you're like, holy shit, all this shit is real. They fund campus takeovers, aka student training, aka brainwashing. because it's all these people who have an agenda being funded by George Soros sent out to students to get them on their side and to register them as voters.
Or to recruit them for Antifa.
To get these young kids to vote in their favor. Through different hidden channels. Some of them are public. Some of them are hidden. Through different hidden channels, groomed, funded, and organized the Antifa movement.
To be clear, I'm not saying Soros created Antifa. He didn't, but he just weaponized them and Black Lives Matter. But that is another video.
Antifa is a domestic terrorist group.
I made this video a week ago before Trump said anything, and I'm glad to announce that now everyone will agree with me on this.
That hates capitalism, white people, rich people, everything. They're awful. I don't know if somebody, if you remember, I posted.
Antifa comes later. Just be patient. I'll get there.
As we move to the key player in all of this. His name is Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison, whose name you probably haven't never heard unless you keep tabs on corrupt Democratic politicians. Keith Ellison is the Attorney General of Minnesota. For those who aren't keen on geography, Minneapolis is in Minnesota, where that's where all the riots are. So remember where they started. Keith Ellison is the Attorney General of that state. So he was among the first to hear about any of this. He knew about it immediately right away. And this came to his desk. Let's do some quick background on him. I'm just going to read this fast because it's getting way too long. He was the Democrat National Convention Deputy Chair. In 2008, his girlfriend accused him of domestic abuse. Her son also wrote a long-ass Facebook post detailing the assault. I'm going to put a picture of her doctor's post from her Twitter. Again, we could go more into him, but let's get to the good part. But first, George Soros' son, Alex, donated $100,000 to another shady committee to get Keith Ellison elected for Attorney General of Minnesota. That's clue number one. The amount was about half of what his campaign made. So if it wasn't for them, Soros put him in that position. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have won. He didn't have the campaign money. He's there because Soros put him there. Remember that.
Keith Ellison is a Muslim American funded by George Soros and raised his children in the Muslim faith, which takes us to the next key player, his son, Jeremiah Ellison. Jeremiah went to college for a year before dropping out to draw comic books. With no real accomplishments, experience, or direction in life, he later ran for city council in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and won because of his daddy, even though he was arrested the year before for rioting. He is a minion of his father, who is a minion of Soros. In 2018, using his newly found city council powers, he pushed to, guess what? Defund the police. And they did. But here you can see that it says it didn't go as far as he wanted it to, and that they would work on it in the coming years. How totally convenient and not suspicious at all that only a year and a half later he suddenly is accomplishing this insane, unrealistic goal, as the city announced today that they intend to abolish the police force. Convenient timeline. Just in time for presidential elections. Oh, and a few days ago, he stupidly revealed his undying love for Antifa on Twitter. Yep. Which his dad downplayed and said, he really just meant Trump is crazy. Yes, really. I hope you're starting to see a plan had been formed here. I'll give you a second to let that sink in. Another bombshell on this coming up.
Alex Soros also donated $3 million to other similar committees for other various Democrat candidates. Knowing that, let me tell you a little story about a secret closed-door meeting between, guess who? George Soros and Keith Ellison. The elitist cabal held a little convention in 2016, right after Trump, a little secret convention that was closed to any normal other people. You had to be on the list. Right after Trump won, in order to come up with the plan to overthrow Trump and focus on the 2020 election.
Here, I forget to clarify. First, they would attempt to remove him. That didn't work. Then they would try to steal the election.
Because remember, Hillary was supposed to win. Remember? They had her at 90%, 95%, 99% chance she was going to win. They were sure whatever they had been doing was going to put her there. What they didn't count on was and you. And everybody else voted for Trump because they voted for Obama, and guess what? He turned out to be an evil dick.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, I used to be a Democrat, and yes, I voted for Obama.
Whatever. Trump it is, right? So I was not a big fan at first. I am now. I love him. Didn't like him at first. Even after I voted, I was like, let's see. Maybe he's crazy. He was a little wacky. Might not be such a good idea. But then the next day, stock market went. Okay, I'm getting off topic again. Stock market. So Hillary was supposed to win. So they hadn't even, when she didn't, they were like, right? So they had to go make an emergency meeting to be like, where did we go wrong? There's a PDF of this. And it says, okay, I'm getting off topic. They were scrambling, okay? So, and you're like, oh, how do you know that they had this little secret meeting, cabal meeting? Well, like I said, we have the leaked PDF document. Okay, I'm skipping way ahead. They had to come up with a new plan to brainwash voters to their evil bullshit. You can see that PDF on Politico. George Soros and Keith Ellison, of course, were both speakers. So they knew each other. And there's articles on this if you Google it. I don't know if I mentioned it. But there's lots of actual liberals, other liberals and progressive who hate rich white people who are really mad at Keith Ellison for this because they're like, well, he's a rich white man. What are you doing? So there's a whole bunch of like angry articles on there about that. Some of them are like, oh, it's a good idea. And some of them are like, oh, no, it's bad. But it's shady as hell. What are you doing, bro? Anyway, the specialized closed door event is searchable on Google. I go way ahead. Google Keith Ellison, George Soros closed door meeting, and you'll just get some random articles pop up. You can now. I'm not advocating for articles, okay? Because articles are mostly not true. But when there's the same document leaked and published on different pretty major sites, and they're documents. They're not opinion pieces. It's not just people talking saying this happened. There's actual proof, like PDF documents, etc. And just by looking at the PDF, you can tell it's legit because of all the names and everything that's in there. There's, that's not even a question. It's totally their document. The Democrat retreat lasted a few days. Okay. We know this because Political and others obtained a leaked PDF document of the schedule, which outlines their agenda. Here are a few chilling excerpts from their PDF schedule.
We need people like George Soros, who is fearless and willing to step up when it counts. So please join me in welcoming George Soros.
We're not going through this whole thing because I didn't have time, but here's some snippets. As you can see, the first page of the PDF document dated 5 days after Donald Trump won. These people do not waste any time. This was a huge gathering of the deep state. You can see their slogan reveals their goal for the meeting, which is ominous as hell: seizing opportunity and building power. We've been telling you for years that their ultimate goal is power. Here's proof of that right in your face. One of the very first sentences in this PDF was, "How did the media fail us?" Here, they're showing their surprise because they control the media. They're thinking, we didn't push the fake news hard enough. Over the next 4 years, we have to just go insane with it. Then they mention innovative technology, which sounds terrifying to me, knowing what the kind of things these people do in their downtime. The alternative forms of media, which cultivate dynamic citizen engagement, which means they want everyone glued to their TV, absorbing their narratives. Regular news briefings didn't work. They didn't trick people into thinking they are angels. So maybe if they come to you on a different platform, like your friend, like Netflix or Hulu, it might work. And it has. We saw Hillary come out with Hulu specials and AOC Netflix specials as outlined 4 years ago. Hulu and Netflix have ramped up political programming aimed at smearing Trump. We never saw this before. They weren't able to reach people on an emotional level and manipulate them enough with just their press conferences. So they needed to make documentaries and movies about themselves to show you how relatable and lovable and heroic they are. They're also trying to bring back a dead cinematically detailed lawsuit against Trump filed right before the 2016 election, made by a fake mystery person that doesn't exist, that no one has ever met or even seen, a fake name and a fake address, also who had no attorney. 2 fake cases were dismissed before the election because they were debunked, and it's an old story they're trying to stir up again. Did Netflix mention Trump banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago after he got reports from employees that Epstein made inappropriate comments toward them? Nope. They also leave out the names of the celebrities and politicians who engaged in the orgies on the island. Also, who was president when Alex Acosta gave him the deal? Bush. If Acosta made a deal, it's because he was ordered to by a higher up to do it. Highest it went was President Bush. Bush. Not Trump. Bush. You can see where the effects of the items in this document have been implemented. This is proof they organized to restructure the media and control, sway public opinion. And this document was their vague outline. On to the next. There's a lot of stuff I have to skip over, but I just wanted to note, here they're talking about how people who are gay and have identity issues and who are also minorities, so black people who are trans, Mexicans who are lesbians, those people are the most vulnerable, and they say, quote, "These people have given us our biggest victories to date," and then they talk about how they're going to exploit those people in order to advance their agenda. It's in the PDF. Oh yeah, and right here, they're talking about celebrating Kim Foxx, who was the prosecutor who refused to prosecute Jussie Smollett, even though everybody knew he was guilty. And here's a little snapshot of our best friend Keith Ellison and George Soros being both speakers at the event. And I didn't put this in here because I don't have a lot of time, but there's cocktail hour, late night ballroom, all kinds of weird shit in this agenda. Trust me, I could keep going with this, but I'm only putting this in here so that you know that it exists. Now this is serious. This is what I need you to remember. This secret retreat was their 4-year plan to create and seize opportunity to get rid of Trump and build power over people's minds. This is where the hurricane we now live in started, but this is not where it was born. That's a whole other video.
So we know George Soros funds Antifa and his buddy best friends with the media, Keith Ellison, and others. But here's something that has not been so widespread.
Yep, that is him. A picture he tweeted out and then deleted later.
Smiling. Looks like he's smiling to me. Again, we could go more into this than I am, but I'm pretty sure this photo says it all. He not only supports them, but to me, this photo implies to me that he is an overseer. Soros is the boss, obviously. He paid for him. He's like, hey, I put you here. You do my bidding, just like China did to Tedros, the WHO director, president, whatever, Dick. So these people put these people into their positions and then they have them do their bidding. So Ellison is a minion. He's a top minion, though, who executes Soros's Antifa agenda. You say, Antifa isn't that bad, right? Well, here's a clip now from Laura Logan, which is on what exactly the Antifa underbelly consists of.
Laura is exploiting the existing conditions and exploiting the local residents, exploiting the very justified outpouring of grief and anger. They specialize in masking themselves behind genuine protesters and exploiting these opportunities to agitate and destroy. These are professional antagonizers, right? They've been trained. They have manuals in how to do this with their tactics, their techniques, and their procedures. And if you look at them in the crowd, you you can start to pick them out because they're very different to the rest of the protesters. They typically wear black, all dressed in black, not always. They have different levels in the hierarchical structure, but you'll see the ones especially that are in this subculture of real professional antagonists and instigators. And they wear all in black. They often have equipment on their backs. They'll have gas masks that aren't the typical gas masks. Those are the expensive ones. They'll have SDLR cameras, which cost thousands and thousands of dollars that the average protester doesn't have. They'll have communications equipment like radios with military-grade antennas. You'll see they have earpieces in their ears. There are repeaters on top of vehicles. And these people come from the outside. And this is something I've spoken today to counterterrorism people, law enforcement, intelligence people, and what all of them complain about is the fact that law enforcement has not been doing anything about the proliferation of these cells all across this country for years now.
Exactly. Why haven't they been cracked down on? Why is that? Could it be because Congress, the media, and politicians have been defending them for years? Celebrities, Joe Biden, and his staff are also bailing them out of jail now. Here's Don Lemon making excuses for them a long time ago. Plenty of that going on with CNN and Chris Cuomo and others now. This might even be irrelevant because I'm pretty sure they've been singing Antifa praises and excuses for them all week, touting them as heroes probably. Why would they do this as the country watches them burn our cities to the ground, using the cover as police brutality as an excuse to justify this? It's because Congress members and media are deep state players, and Antifa is a deep state operation. Here's some old footage of their violent insanity.
Antifa, anti-fascism, which is what they were there fighting.
They're the soft fascists.
And there's, no organization is perfect. There was some violence. No one condones the violence, but there were different reasons for Antifa and for these neo-Nazis to be there. One, racist, fascist.
Did you catch that? Did you see that? Homemade firecrackers are a signature of Antifa. That's one of their go-to. So people are suddenly wondering why there's firecrackers being thrown at the White House, at Los Angeles, and police at every single protest that there is. Firecrackers are exploding there. Why? Because they're Antifa.
Back to how Congress loves Antifa.
Will you condemn the Antifa attack in Washington over the weekend? It's easy to condemn terrorism. Will you condemn it?
Is it weird?
Antifa firebombed a facility in Tacoma over the weekend. It's an ICE facility. Will you condemn them for that? Will you condemn Antifa for the attack in Washington?
We'll be making statements.
It's easy to condemn a terrorist attack. We're wondering if you'll condemn the ICE attack again, the Antifa attack against an ICE facility in Tacoma, Washington over the weekend. No? Do you condemn Antifa for their violent actions against American law enforcement?
Okay, so now you're getting in the way of me walking, so I'm asking you to please back up. Sir?
Do you condemn Antifa?
What I'm condemning is a lack of journalistic integrity, and you are not respecting my physical space right now, and I'm going to ask you to step away.
Antifa didn't respect the integrity of that building.
You can give me a card and we can respond.
So you're not going to condemn them? This isn't a journalistic ethics thing. I'm asking questions that CNN won't. Will you condemn Antifa?
No, of course she won't. She loves them. Maybe because they hate white people too? Or maybe because they're deep state and Antifa is their own operation. I think it's both.
Not going to be the country of the xenophobics. This is not going to be the country of white people.
I grabbed that off YouTube 44 weeks ago. For this video, I want to go back and grab it again. But guess what? All of the speeches of this clip have been deleted. There's 2 that are still there from the Associated Press, but right before she says, "This will not be the country of white people," they cut it off and they end it, and then they just show her walking away. They cut out the end of the speech. They hid this from you. Luckily, I'm crazy and I save everything, because this might be the only copy of her saying this that exists now, because the rest has been scrubbed.
Update. In a shocking turn of events, that didn't surprise me at all because I predicted it over a week ago because of, obviously, Floyd's case will now be taken over completely by none other than Keith Ellison. He will be completely in charge of everything. What could go wrong? If you still think this is a coincidence and not completely and utterly planned, then God bless your heart. Don't you think burning down the entire country and the White House is a little excessive and convenient? To be clear, I'm not saying the officer or Floyd was working with the deep state, even though they both had worked as security guards for the same club at the same time, and the deep state is all about connections. I have no idea if the officer was working with the deep state or if he was a minion or even a victim or was blackmailed because they knew he had a terrible, evil record, or if he was just an evil dick that Ellison exploited as an excuse to activate Antifa, like I mentioned at some point in this video. At the absolute very least, we know Ellison and Soros is the reason Antifa is terrorizing the entire United States. That is what you need to know watching this. It is June 2nd, and I predict that the officer will get off somehow, maybe, or there will be some sort of conflict in the case to upset the black community in order to get the protests going again in waves until November. Or at least they're going to try, maybe even right before the election, to enforce stay-at-home orders and do the mail-in ballot thing. Maybe a month before, maybe a week before, who knows.
If you think they aren't that bad, I'm about to show you who exactly is responsible for making you think that and why.
Back to the notes. In 2016, at that retreat, the news networks and media were commanded to do everything that they could to smear Trump, whether it was true or not.
He's a disgusting racist.
Politicians are married to network executives. Network executives, anchors, they are brothers, sisters, sons, and husbands. Trust me, this is all one big, creepy, corrupt, happy family. You'd know that if you'd look. Go look. Some of it is public, but some of it isn't, and you'd be weirded out. That's why you can see evidence of it almost every single time you see an article or headline. Sure, they lied and smeared before, but now they're doing it even though they know that they'll get caught. And they do, multiple times, every single day.
You asked her, Trump divided people. Trump doesn't divide the people. Fake news divide people.
Can you point the finger? Who's the fake news?
CNN, MS, whatever. I don't even watch those programs because they're disgusting. They lie to the American people all day long, from morning to evening.
The photo op scandal they are now trying to push is evidence. They know it's fake and they don't fact check anything. Their goal is to get it out as soon as possible to infect your mind, to plant the seed. That's the plan, just plant it in there. Only 4 hours after it happened, they had already published articles starting their assault on the narrative. And why wouldn't they? They'd set the stage for 4 years. They had 4 years to plan it and to put their little breadcrumbs and to already make you think something. Waiting to publish what they had already planned 4 years ago. They have no choice. They must remove Trump. They're following the playbook they brainstormed for a week at their creepy club secret meeting. I can already tell you what you're going to hear. They will praise Antifa, claim Trump or Trump supporters are really the evil ones behind
violence and destruction,
and Antifa are just a little rough around the edges, innocent little heroes out there fighting racism. They're great. The media is the ultimate tool of the deep state. This is why I showed you that the very first sentence in that retreat schedule was, how did the media fail us? Remember? Trump always exposes their lies via Twitter. So now everyone sees it. Most people see it. So they want to silence him, ban him from all social media and live newscasts because they can't edit or twist or spin his words into lies if it's live. You get it straight from the horse's mouth There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They can't lie and be like, oh, he said this when he didn't. So they want to edit it, and they admit this on live TV. I can literally prove this to you.
I'm not actually sure, if you want to be honest, that we should carry that live. I think we should run snippets. I think we should do it afterwards and get the pertinent points to the American people. But we should run snippets. I think snippets.
One far-left media group has actually petitioned the FCC to actually censor the president's daily coronavirus task force pressers. They don't want Americans to see the...
If it were up to me, and it's not, I would stop putting those briefings on live TV. And we should, all of us, should stop broadcasting it. Honestly, it's...
And you still... But that's an entire other video. It would blow your mind and sicken you. Just do me a favor and think back to this video. The next time you see a headline, think, oh my God, Trump's evil. Like anything, just think back to this video. Remember what I'm telling you. The future will prove me right. If the past hasn't proven it to you already.
Would have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think. And that is our job.
Yeah.
Control exactly what people think. And that is our job. Control. That is our job.
In order to enact parts of their plan that would be suspicious, that might seem crazy and unrealistic and uncalled for, like suddenly defunding and completely abolishing the entire police departments, they have designed a story to get the public on board and think that it's okay, or even in favor of it in order to throw off suspicion. They had 4 years to slowly implant the idea that Trump was a white supremacist and evil dictator. Even though there was no evidence of this, they tried to manufacture it, twist clips, and played the fake proof over and over and over. A key technique in brainwashing is repetition. They were meticulous with this. That is why it was so nonstop, slowly planting seeds in people's minds that white supremacy was overcoming the USA and it was Trump's fault. It is not, by the way, that is also another video. It is imperative people believe this lie. Every headline slowly sinking into your mind. They needed it to affect your emotions. People just not caring for him was not enough. They needed people to hate him, and hate him for a certain reason. Understand, there is a reason why they have been pushing this one specific lie in particular, that Trump is a racist, and we are living it now. Here it is, their goal. Trump is an evil dictator, power hungry, and him and police and the military are racist. And Antifa are the socialist heroes who fight racism. Joe Biden is a hero of the black community. So that when they tried to take out the White House and police and succeeded, you would cheer and rally behind them. Public perception is paramount. It all comes down to you. When they wanted to stage a coup, they had to make sure the public was on board. And they did. They got close, and they are not done. I have absolute proof of this in my next video. It's pretty simple. Do you see how it all ties in together now? What the media has been saying since then and what they're saying now is proof this is true. This is why I have constantly been telling you to ask why they are telling you what they are telling you. Don't fall for it.
Bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. He has yet once to condemn white supremacy, the neo-Nazis. He hasn't condemned a darn thing.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
What did you bring, Mr. President?
As I said on, remember this, Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. Wait a minute, I'm not finished. I'm not finished, fake news.
She hasn't condemned a darn thing.
Is the same as neo-Nazis?
Those people, all of those people, excuse me, I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups.
Elizabeth Warren said he talks about white supremacists as fine people.
And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. Condemned totally.
In order for the Democracy Alliance to be the heroes of a specific story they created, they have to create a villain. Why do they need to be the heroes of the story? Why does a story need to be specific? Because it's targeted to a certain group of voters. We can't win without the black and brown vote, they say. It disgusts me. Without black Americans voting their way, Democrat politicians lose everything. Once people stop feeling oppressed, they don't need a hero. They don't need the Democrats. This is why they have stoked racial tensions for decades. They need racism in order to survive. It's all about power.
Is Trump a racist?
I don't think so. I've talked to a number of black entrepreneurs who back in the late 80s and 90s, early 90s, were trying to get financing. They couldn't. Somebody told them to go check with Donald Trump. So they come back and tell me they got a loan from Donald Trump. He gave them a term loan. Show up with the interest and the principal, one check. But they had to go see him personally. They independently relate this tale that when they saw him, he said, "This is what you're supposed to pay me? This our agreement?" I said, "Yeah." And then tore the check up, shook their hands, and congratulations. Now run your business.
And this was when?
This was back in the 90s.
If this man is so racist, why is he giving $100 billion to low-income communities? He's so racist. If he's so racist, why he's the president that reopened back funding for HBCUs?
So you're 100% for Trump?
150,000%.
Damn, all right, nigga.
Yeah. Who would you be for, Obama? What did he do? I'll wait. You tell me one thing he did. Oh, but he's racist. But yeah, he signed into law the jail reform law that freed over 4,000 people. 97% were black. But he's racist though. This is what racists do. This is the new era of racism. I need that racism. I like it. I like it. If that's racist, let me get more of that. Facts.
So now we know of 3 high-ranking officials of Minneapolis, Minnesota, love Antifa and BLM, and also want to defund the police. And one of them was put in place by Soros, aka Democracy Alliance. So activists/terrorists and powerful politicians and billionaires and media are on the same side. If politicians and media are supporting violent socialist terrorists, are trying to conquer cities with guns, eliminate police, and take the White House, doesn't that make them terrorists too? Terrorists who are in charge of the Floyd case? Are you seeing a pattern here? Those are just the ones we know about. They knew about this ahead of time. There are more undercover videos, but I'm leaving that out and I'll post them in my stories. Those are by Project Veritas. In fact, they tried before to defund the police, but it didn't work. They needed an event to get the public on their side and agree with this. They don't want the public at large to know their history or their connections. And the public doesn't ask. Ask why. This is a coup attempt on a duly elected president. This is the definition of treason. There are people trying to take over the country out of the citizens' hands, and everybody's acting like it's no big deal. If the public knew an evil group was trying to take over the entire United States and were responsible for burning their cities, homes, businesses, and murdering anyone who gets in their way, in order to get it, they would choose not to participate in these fraudulent protests, and their plan fails. And now that you do know, what are you going to do about it?
Okay, so very enlightening for some of us. Some of us already aware of this and that they suck. Okay, so what I think happened after learning about Ellison's connections, Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, he would have been one of the first people who would hear about the Floyd case, who works for Soros, buddy best friends, is that when the Floyd incident happened, he saw an opportunity, because in this PDF, They outline what they want to happen. And how do we get there? How do we target these people? Blah, 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 blah. And not exactly like that, but they do. And so as soon as that happened, he's like, hey, here's an opportunity to make my, what is it, sugar daddy happy. My big boss man that I have to report to. Anyway, he saw an opportunity. Soros, Ellison, and others have been waiting and trying to create race wars as long as forever, as this is one of their ultimate goals.
I messed up here. I meant tools, not goals, tools.
Because usually, I might have typed this too fast. Because they divide the nation and they give the Democratic base reasons to hate Trump. Fake reasons, imaginary reasons. Oh, look at my shirt. Did you guys hear the Cape Canaveral speech today? Because it was the most beautiful, amazing thing. Anyway, I was excited about it. I want to create race wars because it gives the Democratic base reasons to hate Trump. Obvious. If you don't realize that by now, I don't even know if there's hope for you because it's so obvious. Every single, like, this is their default weapon. Also mass shootings. Also celebrity deaths. This is every time one of their candidates does something fucked up in the election cycle, boom, the next day, the next week, you will have celebrity death, shooting, mass shooting, race wars, police brutality, what else? Before it was ISIS, before they had ISIS to constantly take
The word I'm looking for is distraction, such as, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. Saying something like that might lose you almost half your base. If only there was an opportunity that I could seize to make them love me again.
It's not a coincidence. We're just, as soon as that Biden thing happened, they're like, we need to do something to win him back, okay? And then they were all told to keep an eye out for some kind of opportunity to create a race war. And Ellison said, I got the perfect one. Now that little part right there, that's just my opinion. But, I mean, this is a network of people. They talk. They got a goal. They have hour, day-long retreats, expensive retreats that are secret on how to accomplish these goals, okay? If you think these people don't talk to each other in order to try to get rid of Trump, bitch, that's all they do. That's all they do, okay? That's their life, is fuck Trump, obviously. You could tell. They off topic again. To divide the nation and give the Democratic base reasons to hate Trump and vote against him. This is what they want. This is what they want. Race wars. They want anyone of color to think Trump and Trump supporters are Nazis, which we are not. They even noted in their brief PDF that minorities are the easiest to turn. So they often bring about race wars to achieve this goal. What we are seeing right now is exactly what they wanted, and I can tell you they are extremely happy watching these blue states burn. Back to Floyd. Ellison saw the tape and the tape and anger of Floyd and realized now is the perfect time to activate Antifa. Their little secret weapon he had waiting on the ready. I don't know what I'm doing. Their secret weapon for division and chaos. But Sabrina, Antifa isn't the ones rioting in Minneapolis, you say. Well, yes, they are.
Here are old Antifa pictures from last year and older. The Anarchy A's within a circle is their signature and logo. It's their logo. They tag it everywhere they go. This is important to remember. Now here are photos and videos of yesterday in Minneapolis. Do you notice anything? Do you see anything kind of not right? Something out of place that shouldn't belong there. Yeah, that says death to capitalism, which I'm pretty sure the protesters did not write that. Antifa went there and wrote it. Shortly after this, they also attacked the White House. Here also is CNN in Atlanta. Notice anything? Here they are again in Minneapolis, pretending to be angry black men, while starting a fire and letting them take all the blame, while also taking selfies and screaming F Trump, and doing the work of Soros. Now here are real Minneapolis Floyd protesters telling Antifa to cut the shit out.
And then we feel the bulk of that. We're not allowing that no more. Okay? That's the reality of what we're dealing with right now. All right? Like I said to all my white brothers and sisters, we appreciate y'all being out here and supporting us. But this is not y'all's space. This is not your space. Period. We don't need this bullshit right here. Because what our reality is, when this shit is all said and done, when we wake up, we still gonna be black in America. Now that's not nothing against none of y'all. That's not what this is. That's not what I'm saying. But we're not gonna allow y'all to go up there and start causing chaos and confusion. It's just not gonna happen.
The next day, the LA chapter of Antifa was activated. Celebrities claimed that Trump supporters were the ones causing the riots, but here, in Huntington, you can see Trump supporters are the ones who back the police and put themselves in harm's way to protect their city. Okay, before I go a little more into the media cover-up and debunk this disgusting tear gas lie, I want to show you some footage from the riots this week. These are the Antifa and BLM victims that most people who only get their news from TV will never see. Also, the media claims there is no proof Antifa is even at these riots, let alone inciting violence, because they're angels, right? They're even calling Trump crazy and stupid for even suggesting it. How dare he? Here's the direct evidence proving them wrong, catching Antifa in the act of chipping away at sidewalks so people would have things to throw, handing out bricks to black Americans, etc., etc.
The ultimate vision is for people to break with their comfort and come into the streets day after day, night after night, in the hundreds of thousands until the millions, and not leave until they have to step down.
Bitch, don't give no group of black men no credit, don't do nothing, alright? Why would you give that to them? They gonna get in trouble. You stupid, you a retarded bitch, all of y'all. Why the fuck would you give this to them? That shit is wild disrespectful. I don't give a fuck about your friends. I'm talking about this white bitch giving a group of black men a brick to throw. You know that shit can get them killed. You know that just having that shit can get them killed. That's why you have so sensational. Go in the fucking house and kick everybody ass. Go in the motherfucking house and let everybody glasses off their face. Fuck that. That's some bullshit. What the fuck is that?
They just sitting there waiting to give somebody a brick.
A black man to walk by so you can hand them a brick. You know.
Shit. Oh my god. Oh my god. Shit. Look at y'all stupid ass. You came out with a sword.
Take his ass. Hey, no. That's my man. Get him. I need him. He ain't do shit. Get him. I need him. Okay. Get him.
So they just took in that Antifa guy, the good citizens captured him, and one of his buddies is kind of mad at the police now. And it's kind of funny because I didn't know we had Transformers here yet, but I can tell you, white supremacists do not dress like this. I don't know what this is.
That's behind any hours. That's cheating over the front.
What is y'all doing?
I talked to the mayor. She said half of the people that locked up last night was from out of town. They also said in Atlanta, most of the time when we protest, it's 90-10, 90-10 split with it being 90% black. They said last night it was like 50-50. Antifa or whatever they're talking about or something like that. I'm from here. Hey, man, look, man. I know what's going on. Bunch of y'all out there boosting this shit, having shit for half off. I get it. I get it. But, like, don't burn my city down, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? We do need to come together. Man, I hate fucked up cops way more than I hate the shit you doing. But that shit ain't making no sense, for real.
Here, a good citizen catches them with Arizona plates on the back and Texas on the front. There's another video like this that actually shows them switching the plates on the sidewalk. But it's a different group of kids, and it's in a different state on the other side of the country. This is a coordinated effort. Trump is not crazy. The media are.
And just so y'all know, these are the kind of motherfuckers that's tagging buildings, acting like they fucking black and making us looking back. Don't fucking do that bullshit. You putting Black Lives Matter on fucking buildings, tagging, and it's not black people. Don't fucking do that bullshit.
Completely unsurprisingly to me, the FBI now reports special agent that Malia Obama has been caught and tracked leaving Antifa meetings. They've tracked her, and she attended at least 3 meetings, they said. The media wants you to think Trump is the one attacking people. The next videos here, they are heartbreaking. This is a warning. The sad thing is I have a lot more like this, but I will spare you. Here's a different angle. I don't have the audio for either of these clips. I guess I could have got it, but
live here! What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing?
Stop it! Don't do that shit over here. That's the real shit. I knock your bitch ass out. You follow me? Huh? You get your fucking ass out of here. What the fuck you talking about, huh? Fucking kids. Yeah, get your bitch ass out of here. I'm gonna knock your bitch ass out. Fucking looting over here. Get your motherfucking ass knocked out. Get your punk asses on. Nigga, this Long Beach. Thank you, sir. Say something. Say something. Get your bitch ass out of here. I ain't playing with y'all.
Where was I? They're just taking advantage of the situation, protesting capitalism. They don't care about Floyd. They have a paid job to do.
But Sabrina, there's no evidence they're being paid, you say? Well, there is.
The barricades, go get everything you can find. Go get everything you can find. These are the boys right here. This is the team. There's more stuff that we can put out here. Hey, there's 3 picnic tables up here. There's a couple picnic tables up here. Let's go on. Come on, y'all.
These are live screenshots that I've taken from my own computer and undercover videos that I have screen recorded direct from the person who took them so I know exactly where they're coming from. I do not like to use random sources on social media because people can claim that they come from somewhere else, etc. For instance, now this Craigslist post I did not find on social media. I actually went to Craigslist wondering if there were any ads for paid protesters, and there was. I found this one, and it was posted on the second day of the Minneapolis riots. The next day, I went and looked for it again, and it was gone, but I was able to screenshot it on my laptop. This one is obviously Antifa. They mention the expenses are paid, meaning they're going to bus you around. It mentions capitalism, be prepared to fight, cash pay, keep this quiet, and it also says let the tiger out, which was really big on Antifa's Twitter when I had it.